talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Oh, hi. That was really cruel and unusual, Tony. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I was like, what just happened? Good afternoon.
You made it fit over the festive hat.
Yeah, in front of everybody, not beforehand. And there's still a little stuff going on here, but I think
looks amazing.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. You have joined Distill It, a 360-degree view of life in sport.
In the future, talk.
Really? You're messing with me? It's because this is our last show of the year.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we're going to have
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we're going to have a good time today.
All righty.
And Tony, you just feel free to jump in with more bloopers and gags and stuff like that.
That's all he needs is permission.
Exactly.
That's it. We've lost him.
Well, last show, I think we should have had some spirits around.
We should
here,
have.
right?
Yeah, we should have
Celebrate.
been toasting with cocktails.
We should have been toasting with cocktails. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to do it the first show of the year, and Charisse, our guest, is going to come back and celebrate with us.
There you
Okay?
go.
I
There
love
you
it.
go. All right.
All right, so you have joined the party here at Distill It. We are so glad to have you. My name is Wendy Rosenthal. I'm here with my esteemed, wonderful partner who is ready to applaud for me anytime I
you
see
need
her.
Yes.
Eira and I are the co-founders of the Distillery, an organization that works with athletes at any level as they make their transition out of sports. We love sports. We care about athletes, and that's why we're here, because every couple of weeks we really like to talk about sports, but not just what's going on the field. We are passionate about everything that has to do with sports because sports is a metaphor for life.
It is indeed.
We live it that way. We live our lives that way, and we're very happy to share it. And today, we have a topic that I really wish we had a couple of hours to talk about, because even in the amount of time I had to do research, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm scratching the surface.
Yeah.
And that is sports and philanthropy. It's a time of giving and a time of sharing right now as we approach the holidays. And so we really wanted to end the year on a positive note and really look at, all the amazing things that the leagues are doing, athletes are doing individually. Because there's been a lot of rough stuff going on in sports this year.
Yeah.
It has not been an easy sports year, and we've had some controversial topics, which we want to bring back next year because it's all worth talking about, but we really wanted to end the year on a positive note. And we are incredibly fortunate today to have with us a very lovely woman who absolutely is an expert in this field. She has been a part of philanthropy in one way or another for many years. Charisse Browner is joining us today. Charisse is the director of sports and entertainment philanthropy for the Giving Back Fund, and I'm going to let Charisse in a moment share with you what the Giving Back Fund is and a little bit about her history. But because we're equally fascinated by what the Giving Back Fund is and what it does. And then we want to talk about just in general sports and philanthropy and what we're seeing that looks great and what could be even better, because the fact of the matter is that there is so much good that's being done that I am sure there can be even more, and it's worth talking about. So hello, welcome, Charisse. Before I turn it over to you, I do want to say one thing, as our viewers know. Me and my hats, which is what you caught when I was coming on. We were coming on air, and this week it was really kind of difficult. I was like, "What kind of hat?" Ooh. You got to turn the sound off. It is. Mercury is still in retrograde. We have like another week of it, right?
Yeah, at least I
That's
think.
the beauty of radio. Right?
I know. My hat. I couldn't figure out what hat to wear for you today. Charisse actually made a good comment. It could have been a team of any number of her clients. It would have been too hard to choose. So I went with festive.
And it's festive.
The glitter.
Yeah.
That's as festive of a hat as I have. I have no Santa hats. I have no elf hats. I just have glitter hats. So this is the hat for our final show of this year.
Make me laugh.
Okay. I'm giving Charisse a little bit of time because she's
I got
also.
it. I got it. Yes, I'm done.
All right, now I do want to remind everybody that the reason we were giving Charisse a little bit of time is because she is sharing this to Facebook. We are on Facebook Live. We would love to hear from you, comments. I do keep track. We also, if you are interested in calling in and asking any questions or giving us any of your comments, the number here is 323-284-7826, or you can Skype on UBN Radio 1 guest. We would love to hear from you in whatever format you want to share with us. Also, normally our security blanket and engineer Jarvis is with us. He is already on holiday, and so we welcome station owner Tony Sweet, who
Yay.
who me? I don't know if Tony knows this, but every time we're on air, we do thank you and the UBN network so much because we love this. This is we call it our third or fourth home because we have a lot of places that we go, and but we do love you. So thank you for supporting us today. You aren't as good as Jarvis, but but we welcome you. Now that all the formality is out of the way, I would like to welcome you, Charisse. Again, thank you for making the trek over here and for sharing this day with us.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for booking me at the end of the year, right before Christmas holiday, because the Los Angeles streets are very clear right now. So I got here in no time from the LAX area. So
And that rarely
thank
happens,
you.
so that's a big deal.
I know. You know, I just kept saying, gosh, what time do I need to leave to get there on time?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got here pretty quickly.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
So can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your history and your love of sports, as we were just talking about?
Oh, my goodness.
Love, hate with
a little
sports?
bit. Where do I even start? Well, I will tell you, as soon as I turned on Sunset, I was just, big smile came on my face because I think a little bit of my background. I started in the nonprofit industry at 14 years old, actually.
Wow.
Reading to some of the residents at a senior home. And then that's when I learned about, giving back and that it's important to give back. And so ever since that experience, I've always in some respect been involved in the nonprofit world. But as I turned on to Sunset Boulevard, there was my old building, 6255 Sunset Boulevard, which is where Motown was located when it moved here from Detroit, and that's where I worked in the 90s.
Wow.
So that brought back so many memories. So I'm actually in the
your own
ground area.
hood.
Yeah,
Your own hood.
That's right. That's right.
And also, you were a former radio host, so I feel like Eira and I kind of have to
And not
bow
just-
down. And
I
like,
was.
Well, and not just on any station, but
No.
I mean, Power 106 for me when I was, junior high and high school, that was a big deal. That
Yes,
was popular. So
yes.
that really takes me back and makes me feel very happy.
They're still very much family to me.
Yeah,
So,
I'll bet.
and I miss radio. So I was very excited to have this opportunity because I've been dying to get on the mic again.
well, and radio's changed a little bit because now you get to be on mic and
Yeah,
on camera.
I
So
know. Go figure. All you needed was a camera. Who knew?
who knew?
Right? Could have been very innovative back then, right?
Yeah.
But no, at the Giving Back Fund. So the Giving Back Fund was founded by Mark Pollock, who is our CEO, founder. I wish Mark was here. He's a hoot.
Well,
And yeah, next show we've got to bring him
Yeah,
on.
bring him
Mark,
on. Love
Mark is
it.
quite the character. Everyone really loves Mark. But Mark created the organization 20 years ago, and it was basically in response to some things that he saw, in the media, and wanted to make sure that athletes and celebrities were represented, or at least from their philanthropic standpoint and goals, in the proper manner.
Sure.
Because, as you know, every now and then we'll see a story on the front page of the Washington Post or some other, newspaper of an athlete whose, foundation was not run properly.
Absolutely.
And it's a shame because these are people who, have put so much time and effort into honing their craft and to, making a brand for themselves. Yeah. And then to have, someone not run their foundations properly is a shame because it all points back to the celebrity. It doesn't matter who's running the foundation. So Mark thought, I can do a better job. I can certainly help these athletes, and so that's what he did. He created the Giving Back Fund 20 years ago, and this is our 20th anniversary this year, so we only have, another week or two.
Love
and
it.
then we're moving into our 21st
Yes.
year. Yeah. So, but it's been a whirlwind. I mean, I had no idea I sort of knew what I was walking into, but I had no idea that, I'd be wearing so many hats throughout the day, and helping to manage the accounts of so many, very, very community conscious celebrities and athletes and high network individuals, those are our, target clients, our target audience is the athletes. And what we do there is we're philanthropy advisors. And so what we will do is we'll lead the path, of the client, and we'll help them. They come to us with an idea. Like I'll take, for instance, Ben Roethlisberger. Ben
Sorry.
loves,
Big Ben.
Okay.
Huge fan.
Yes.
Huge Pittsburgh fan. I saw that. I was like,
I know.
oh my God.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Can I go to one of his charity events? I just want to say hi. I don't want to do anything. I just want to say hi.
I know. And you say charity events, but yeah, he does a couple of them, but he also does something that's really unique as well. But initially when he came to us, he has a passion for dogs.
Dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a very big passion for dogs. And then he also, has several friends that are in service, the police service, sheriff's, police department, things like that. And so just knowing those two things, we, talked and had conversations and strategy meetings and what have you, and came up with the concept that he would fund canine programs throughout the country to give back. And what's really brilliant about what he does is, he funds the police departments or the fire departments in the cities in which the Pittsburgh Steelers play away games.
Right, which is so nice.
How smart is that?
So
though?
smart.
I mean, a lot of times you'll play in another city and you usually don't get that kind of positive publicity
Sure.
in
Yeah.
another city. But
Yeah.
here he's getting that positive publicity because he's giving money, in grant form to, the various police and fire departments in the whole cities. So very smart.
Just in that one example, you
Yes.
have hit on about 30 things that I know that are going on in my head.
Right.
But before I ask those questions or I let Eira ask any questions, stop. Don't say anything.
I'm not saying a
Okay,
word.
thank you.
She reads my mind, so she told me to stop, apparently.
There's two things. One, oh my gosh, this hat and these earphones don't go together at all. But I love the show and I love my hat, so I'm going to keep it on. I just wanted to take 1 minute and kind of give our viewers a kind of the breadth of what the power of the sports industry and what it does in terms of charity. And I was not able to find like one number that says, this is what, between all of the major sports leagues and between all of their athletes and all of the players associations, this is what the number is. But I can promise you, just based on a few numbers, I mean, we're talking probably billions of dollars every year, at least
for
one.
Sure. Yeah.
Some
for sure.
interesting information I found out, the NFL since 1973 has given away over $370 million in charity. That's just them, not their players,
Right.
not as
Right.
individuals,
Yes.
but just them as a league. If we look at an individual case of, say, Hurricane Harvey, $54 million was given by athletes and leagues across, not just, football or baseball, like across sports, just the number that I could find.
Yes.
So I just wanted to kind of put it all in perspective, because when you talk about Ben Roethlisberger, amazing what he does in one small bits. It's not small, but it's
Right.
a small piece of a much bigger pie.
Yes.
And it goes across every sport. Every sport has both the league and the players associations that do, different things. And it crosses different cause lines as well, although veterans seems to be a big theme, and kids, youth sports seems to be a big theme. And I know you want to say something about that later, but it's quite amazing the impact that sports has on the world at large in terms of their giving back.
It's an important reminder, I think, because certainly in the last year we've seen both the leagues and individual athletes be criticized so brutally for what they aren't doing right.
Yes.
Or they aren't doing enough of.
Yes.
And whether or not you agree with someone like Colin Kaepernick and what he doesn't do. I think that, one shortcoming of the entire issue is the fact that his kneeling did overshadow all the amazing work that his foundation does. So I think it's a good point to just remind people, number-wise, it's not just, a nice thing to do. I mean, these leagues and individual athletes are really making a huge impact.
Yes,
in
and that's
people's lives.
just what's publicized. We don't know,
Yeah.
as you said, the NFL, they do things in the community from the corporate standpoint.
Sure.
Then you have, players that are going through the league to do things to be
Yeah.
involved in the community. Then you have players that are, have their own foundations, and then you have players that represent other charity organizations, and then you have those that will write a check if someone asks.
And we'll do it behind the scenes. I mean, certainly
yes.
we have clients who are very happy to do something, but they don't want this to be publicized
Right.
at all.
Right.
So really,
exactly.
But you can't even measure the impact of, say, a Ben Roethlisberger signing a football and giving it to somebody, and how much
Right.
money that raises for a charity that he may have absolutely no connection to on
Correct.
any level. So the ripple effect,
Right.
Yeah.
even from those small actions,
Yes, yeah,
is
and
huge.
even the ripple effect. One of the dogs, I remember one of the police departments had written back to us to let us know about one of the dogs that they had purchased with his grant.
Yeah.
And found an elderly person that had Alzheimer's and got lost, and they were actually lost in the woods.
Yeah.
And this person could have died,
Sure.
but the dog found them, and that dog was purchased with a grant from Ben. So the trickle effect itself,
Yeah.
that you see, and the impact that they have in the community, it's great work. It's a lot of fun.
And,
Sure.
and I wonder if there's any other industry, maybe the entertainment industry, we could compare it to. And I don't know if you have any opinion about this, but I doubt there's any industry in the world other than sports that actually collectively gives as much back to communities than they do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, the acting, actors and actresses, singers, people like entertainment, I think as a whole, probably if someone did the numbers, and I don't know if those numbers exist out there. I haven't seen any. But I think as a whole, I think the entertainment industry, and just includes sports as well, because I believe all sports is
It's
just entertainment. But I do believe that it's probably the most philanthropic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you brought up, you said something that I wanted to carry on a discussion about, and that is kind of a motivation maybe by an athlete. Certainly there's motivations behind the leagues. I don't profess to be able to, talk in depth about that, but certainly an athlete has to look at what they do in a philanthropic way as a part of who their brand is. Mm-hmm. So when an athlete comes to you, is that part of the discussion? Do they bring it to you? Do you recommend it?
As far as using philanthropy to enhance their brand?
Yeah.
No, actually, that's not a big conversation. They generally come to us and they have a genuine, because to me, I don't like vanity projects. I will shoot them down every single time.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that philanthropy is about you going to a toy store, and I'm not knocking any of the athletes, celebrities, or anyone that takes kids to Toys R Us or whatever
Right.
other store and buys, for children that don't have. But I don't think that should be the reason why you're in, philanthropy. It's not about a picture of you in the newspaper with your receipt
Sure.
hitting the ground that you just purchased, $20,000 worth of toys for, 10 kids. That's great. However, I do believe that money can go much further in helping those same kids. It could be
Right.
with the STEAM program, or it could be, helping at after-school programs, or it could be helping with, scholarships and things like that.
But you wouldn't, that's so good to hear. But you wouldn't shy away from, Ben's in a different city, in the city that Pittsburgh is playing, and he's supporting whatever local police service station,
Right.
whatever
Yeah, the police
service
stations,
stations.
yeah. I think
But
it helps his brand.
it helps his
It
brand.
helps his brand for sure.
Because
And
you
it
don't
helps
shy
it-
away from the publicity,
No,
right?
not at all. Although, we'll do a press release, but Ben's not trying to be in the photo with the dogs and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and all the rest of that. But it doesn't hurt your brand, of course, but it does help your brand. But we don't get a lot of clients that come to us, and that's the reason why
They come.
Yeah, they come to us because they believe it's the right thing to do, and they come to us because they know that they're in a very unique position, and they know that they are influencers and that they're able to make a change and a difference in the community, and they look to us to help them kind of figure out how they can do that. So very rarely, I mean, does the whole, brand, I want to do this to up my brand, come into play.
I do think I have to qualify the question because I think, at least from our perspective at the distillery, when a client comes to us to have a conversation about establishing his or her brand, it's not just from the perspective of I want to make myself look good, but I think it's important to establish a brand so that you make sure that what you say and do from here on out ties you back and you're always in alignment with your brand. So for example, with Ben, I would say, part of his brand is that he makes a positive impact everywhere he goes and plays.
Yes.
Right.
So it's not,
Yes.
I just want to make sure we create that distinction about the branding itself is
Right,
not
yes.
negative. So the branding, I
Sure.
think for me, when I heard the question was, how do you help a client who, for example, isn't quite sure what he or she wants a brand to be? He's not really
Absolutely.
sure what his or her passions are. Like it
Yes.
might not be dogs. It might not be the local police department. So how do you help a client really guide them towards creating a brand and then helping them make sure that they're in alignment with their brand? Because it's so easy to trust the wrong people and put your money into the wrong organizations.
It is. It's very easy. It's really about what you have a passion for.
Yeah.
Because we always say at the Giving Back Fund, if we're more excited about your project than you are, we have an issue.
Exactly.
So it really is what you have a passion for, and we can tell that right away when they're talking about what it is that they want to do. And
Sure.
granted, a lot of people do come to us and they don't have an idea.
Yeah.
They say, "Well, I just want to give back to the community." Okay, that's fine. How? I don't know. Okay, well, what are you passionate about? Well, I really love children. I love this. And so as they begin to talk, we can start framing
Sure.
what we think
Yeah.
might be good for them.
Yeah.
And it's always a really good feeling when you hit the nail on the head and
Yeah.
they're very excited about the program.
Yeah.
Because when they're excited about the program, it's going to make an impact because
Sure.
they're going to do whatever they need to make it successful.
Absolutely.
So, but I do agree with you in that respect that, having a nonprofit organization or even just, sponsoring, not necessarily sponsoring, but partnering yourself with a nonprofit organization, it speaks a lot to your brand and who you
Sure,
are.
sure.
But we just want to make sure that you're genuinely,
Absolutely.
involved in that and interested in that because, like I said, that's going to make it successful.
And we talk about sports being a metaphor for life, and I think that both in sports and outside of sports, if you aren't doing what you're passionate about, if you aren't doing something that resonates with you, aren't going to invest the same amount of effort or excitement, then it's just not going to be the success it can be.
Yes, and we know that they can't put the same amount of time and passion into what they do in the community as they do in their careers.
Sure.
However, it works a lot better when they are involved and they are in tune with what's going on with their
They
nonprofit.
have to be invested somehow.
Absolutely invested.
Yeah.
For it to work.
Right, absolutely. And you
Yeah.
say, they don't have a whole lot of time to devote maybe while they're playing, competitive sports. But certainly once that career comes to an end, if they've done it right, they've set themselves up for a nice foundation to continue to
and that's what we
step
try
into.
to do. That's one of the questions that we do ask, particularly the athletes. Is this a foundation that you want to be a legacy?
Yeah.
And if so, we then counsel you and let you know how that happens.
Sure.
So you may not have $1 million in 5 years, but
Yeah.
you might have $1 million right now.
Yeah.
So just put that away. Put that away into your foundation or into a donor advised fund,
Yeah.
so that when it's not football, but when your sport is over with, you'll have the money there and you can continue on with your scholarship program
Sure.
or your STEM program or whatever it is that you create through your foundation.
Yeah.
Is there any conflict at all between what a player is required to do as part of being, in a players' association or a league, and what they want to do personally? And if so, how do you balance all of that? Because I was thinking, they don't have a lot of time for a lot of things other than sports, but also they have obligations, I imagine.
They do, and it's a little different. Some of the athletes may work with the community relations department of the sports team that they're with, and then some just choose to do their nonprofit on the side, and they still might do things with the team, with the club, but they also do things on the outside as well. So there's. As far as them being obligated to do things, I'm sure there are some things, that they're obligated to do. However, they do have the choice of doing either or. And one of the things, we are the official philanthropy partner of the NFLPA, Players Association. And one of the projects that we're working with them on is not every player, wants to have a foundation, nor
Sure.
should
Should
every
they?
athlete
Right.
have a foundation.
Right.
Particularly if you don't have the time, if you don't have the resources, and
Or
if
the
it's-
passion.
and the passion. That's
Yeah.
what I was about to say. And is particularly if you don't have the passion. However, you still might want to be involved in the community. So one of the things that we're doing with the Players Association is we are creating more crowdfunding and giving circle opportunities.
That's great.
Yeah, so that the players can collectively do things together and
great.
raise money for nonprofit organizations. And that's one of the things that I'm really trying to do across all sports, and that is to sports and celebrity, actually, and that's to have people collaborate more. Because you can have 100 athletes and celebrities giving to the Boys and Girls Challengers Club individually, whereas they could probably do something
More meaningful.
Yeah.
greater impact if they did it together collectively. And then also partnering with nonprofit organizations. I'm a huge proponent of partnering.
Yeah.
We have a lot of nonprofits in the United States. California seems to be the leader out there of creating nonprofit organizations. The problem with that is that there's only so many dollars that are out there, and everybody's going
Is
to
fighting for it.
Walmart,
Absolutely.
Target, Coca-Cola. Everyone goes to the same the same companies and the same funders to get money. And so I think it's really important to collaborate, and I would love to see more collaboration, not only amongst the charities, but amongst the players, and athletes working together, because a lot of them are, quite frankly, doing the same thing.
Sure.
So the collaboration would be great to see.
And what I love about that is also, at least from some of the conversations we've had with our clients, one of the biggest issues for them when they leave their sport and start to think about another career is that loss of sense of team.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they sort of go through this identity crisis where it's even if you are an athlete within an individual sport, so let's say track and field, you're not doing the relays, you're doing an individual sport, you still are part of a larger team. There's still a coach, a nutritionist, a trainer. There's still, and when you leave your career, your competitive career, you sort of you feel like you're out there on your own. So what I love about what you're saying is that it keeps you within that athlete mindset of being part of a team, and knowing how to work in partnership with someone else, whatever that may look like.
And also what we do at the Giving Back Fund to explain who we are, and I know we're kind of jumping a little bit.
It's fine.
But with the Giving Back Fund, we are an umbrella organization, so we're a fiscal sponsor. So athletes, celebrities, high net worth individuals, they can create their nonprofit organizations under our umbrella.
Okay.
So because you do that, you have it's a team atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because not only do you have your foundation, but now you have this team that's backing you up.
Sure.
So, you come with, we handle your finances.
Yeah.
We handle the day-to-day management. We do all of the, the compliances and things like that. So you still are dealing with a team, quote unquote.
Exactly.
So I think that mentality and that familiarity that the athlete and the celebrity has continues on, when you come under someone like the Giving Back Fund, because it's still a team effort.
Yeah.
And we see ourselves that way too. I don't see myself any different than the coach.
Right.
No, it's true. You're just
It's
coaching
true.
in a
Absolutely.
different way.
It would just coaching in a
Absolutely.
different way, exactly.
I just want to welcome those of you who've joined us on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us. And hello, Miriam Chankin. Just wanted to give a little shout out. If you have any questions, please send your comments. I found the Giving Back Fund to be such an interesting organization because it's kind of like a plug and play, the way I view it. It's like, okay, I have this great idea. Now I come to you and you take care of everything. Is there ever any confusion about who you are in the midst of who they are? Or is it, do you find that it's a very clear,
It's pretty clear, and we do like for all of our clients to have their own branding. And so it's always clear that you're the project of the Giving Back Fund and for legal purposes, because if people go to, say, look for Ben Roethlisberger Foundation, tax identification number, they won't find it under the name of the foundation because he's fiscally sponsored. So it's under the Giving Back Fund. So we always have to make that very clear. that they
So
are
if
a
you-
fiscal sponsorship.
Right. So if I'm giving and all of a sudden on my credit card it says, who the heck is
Correct.
the Giving Back Fund? I
Right.
gave to Ben.
Right.
Like, what happened?
Right. Yes. But we do like to, we like for all of our clients to have their own identity, and they're all very, very different, very unique. And we're the people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's our place, is the people behind the scenes that's making the engine run.
Well, and I think it was clear when I visited the website. I just was very fascinated because people are always looking for reasons to criticize something or to say there's some, goings on behind the scenes that aren't kosher or whatever. And it's such an interesting business model to me, just in general, that I was curious if it's something that you come up against, because I could see it being like, well, like I said, I got my credit card in. I thought I gave to this.
Yes. Well, we always make it pretty clear,
Yeah.
what the, legally how we're in partnership with our clients. But no, we don't have, issues like that.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, we just don't. And I think that's because we're transparent from the very beginning, and we like to make it very, very clear as to, the partnership and who we are.
So going back to sorry,
No,
did I
go
catch
ahead. I
up?
was going to ask a question, but go ahead. There's time.
No, after you.
You.
You. I know. I was going to ask. I was going back to the idea of sports being a platform for elevating causes, and what do you see in the landscape now in terms of when an athlete gets it right and when an athlete gets it wrong? Eira touched a little bit on Colin Kaepernick, and we had a very heated show about the fact that whether you agreed or disagreed with why Colin did what he did, the fact of the matter is what he did elevated a different cause than what I think he originally was trying to spotlight. And for us, it was sad in a way, because we know the work that he does behind the scenes, and where he was coming from is so correct. So how do you see the landscape of where athletes are using their platform for charitable causes, and how it might intersect with something that maybe they step in it and they don't know, or how it could get obscured by other factors because of their platform?
Yeah, well, I applaud Colin for everything that he's done. Anyone that will, step up and put their livelihood on the line for what they believe in, I have to applaud. There's not a lot of people that would have done that. And so, he has conviction and he stuck to it. And I totally respect that. I would like to see more people of influence make a change. And I'm hoping that what Colin did, it created a lot of communication, not enough communication and not the right kind of communication, but we are talking about it. We're here right now talking about it, and it's been quite some time since he, actually took the knee. But
well, I mean, interestingly, it happened over 2 years ago, and it was like it's like this recycled,
right,
in a positive. I mean, the message and why people were doing it is clearly there's a need.
No, for sure, for sure. But what I love about the whole, issue is that it is causing dialogue, and that's what needed to happen.
Sure.
And like I said, we still have a long ways to go, and I am waiting to see, for other people, and there have been some others, that have stepped up to the plate. I do have to give a shout out there for Malcolm Jenkins. Kudos to you as well, and the rest of the coalition. But as far as what's coming, down, I think we'll see a lot more. I think we're going to see athletes in a lot more meaningful type of, philanthropic projects and partnerships, and because I think I think people are really trying to see, or now seeing how their influence, can change. You can change the world with who you are, and just having, people follow you and want to, be like you, or want to listen to what it is that you have to say. I'm just hoping that, more celebrities and athletes are more vocal, in the future.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think it's interesting because, because of what Colin did originally, now I just read an article about how the NFL is earmarking nearly $90 million. It's, of course, controversial what they're doing, and nonetheless, they are earmarking a lot of money to support projects on a national and local basis that will hopefully help raise more awareness to all of the topics that were raised over the last couple of years with the start of Colin Kaepernick, which at the end of the day, whether the coalition is happy with it or not, which I don't think they are right now, or anybody is happy with it, it's actually done something.
Yes.
It really has moved something
No,
forward
it has, and
either
that's what
way.
I'm saying. As far as it just being movement, just as long as there's some sort of movement, and it could be movement in the wrong direction, but you can always change your direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What doesn't need to happen is complacency, for people to just sit and just let things happen in our society and we do nothing about it, particularly those that do have influence. Shame on us if we don't do something when we see things gone wrong. I mean, we just saw in the news earlier, a young lady, killed herself from being bullied, but yet it's like, it's time for us, just as Americans, it's time for us to step up to the plate and do something about it. Not be, with your cell phone and videotaping wrongs, or and that's the other thing too, when you were asking, what do I, foresee? I also hope what happens too is that people kind of listen before they react, and that's maybe wishful thinking, but with the internet and instantaneous comments and things like that can literally bury someone. I'm just hoping that people are a little bit more patient, understanding, curious, and to really listen and try to figure out the truth. And try to understand and try to educate themselves. And I'm really hoping that, the celebrity can bring that out in people, or at least prompt it.
Yeah, I really hope so. I think something that Eira and I firmly believe in, and what we try and bring into our own business and to the people that we hopefully are influencing, is the fact that, having a fulfilling life. A lot of people derive fulfillment from what they're doing right now. So you're an athlete, you walk out onto the field, you get all the cheers and applause. Cueing cheers and applause. You're sleeping over there. You're getting all the cheers and applause, and that's where fulfillment is derived from.
Yes.
But to have a fulfilling life beyond the field means stepping up, doing all the things that you're saying, creating a foundation that goes on forever, no matter how much you're making. It really is like a core foundation to just human happiness, I think.
Absolutely.
So I think the idea of athletes taking a bigger stand, or taking or really pushing themselves to extend that platform, even if they're not playing anymore. And that's what I think about what you're doing, is you're giving them an opportunity to have a platform beyond their playing years.
Yes.
Because they're making a platform in what they're doing and giving back.
Right. Yes.
Which is so beautiful.
Yeah. And a lot of even as far as the education, that's one of the things that we do with our clients, and that is we're not just handling everything for them, because as we know, athletes, celebrities, people of wealth have other people around them that do everything for them a lot of times. But I do like to educate. So I like to tell our clients, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because I really want them to be philanthropists, and I want them to truly understand why they're doing what they're doing. And so that when they talk to people, they can go in front of a funder, and talk intelligently and from an educational standpoint about their foundation, so that they can create partnerships and things like that. So I think it's really important. And not only that, once their career is over, to understand that, if you create this foundation, it's sustainable and it's doing well, once you leave your sport, you can go right into being the executive director with a salary.
Exactly.
And continue on down the road, so there is an easier transition if you can create one while you're playing and while you have the resources and the influence and the partnerships to do so, and then, move forward from there.
Yeah.
And your influence then becomes attached to the good you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is...
And there's always so much good to be done.
Oh,
my
there's
goodness.
never enough.
It's never enough.
I'm thinking about what you were saying about how we're seeing athletes really sort of take on a different role beyond just giving money. I'm thinking of Hope Solo, who's now running for president of the United States Soccer Federation. I'm thinking that's, the women's national team fought so hard for equal pay and fought so hard to really get the same respect that the men's team gets.
Yes.
You know, her career's come to a different place, and now she can say, you know what, I learned so much. All of those battles, all of those struggles, I learned so much, and there's a real responsibility here that we have to push U.S. soccer to develop our youth in a way that's never happened in this country.
Yeah.
You know, it's a huge risk on her part, but I think it's such a big statement that she's really taking you know, everything she's learned, everything she's gone through, and saying that there's a whole lot of good I can do. And
for sure.
this is going to be one path. And whether she wins or not, I have no idea. And whether she's qualified for that role or not, I have no idea. But I think it's a huge risk. And I think it's great for her to put herself out there like that.
I told my, you know, a little bit about my background. I come from a family of football players.
Quite famous.
Yeah,
we won't talk about it, but quite famous.
We're called the first family of football.
Yep.
But when my son at 5 years old told me that he wanted to play football, I said, okay. And, you know, I had to think about how am I going to put you on this, you know, this path. But I always taught my son that football is a stepping stone. This is not a lifelong career. It's a stepping stone, and it's a platform to take you to a much higher level once you're finished. And that's something that I think, you know, all parents that have, you know, kids that are in sports to instill that in them, that you're not a football player forever. You don't play tennis forever. You don't run track forever. But it's a method to get to another, you know, phase in your life quite easily. If you utilize it and you use, you know, your influence and your and what's available to you during that time. You have to capitalize. I always say it's nothing wrong with using people because they're going to use you too. So
no, absolutely.
you know, and you're put in these positions for a reason. You may not know it at the time, but you're in these positions for a reason. And,
I think it's a great reminder, I think, for all parents. I mean, I think about our kids and how much they love to play sports. And, you know, for so many parents who push their kids to being involved in sports and to, you know, this is your way to college, this is your ticket, this is going to be it. There's something beyond that. So even if you get to college and even if you get that athletic scholarship and you're able to use it correctly, then what?
Right.
You know, odds are you're not going to go pro.
Yes.
You know, so then what?
Right.
You know, so yes, absolutely figuring out a way to take what sports offers you.
Yes.
And to use those tools most effectively.
Yeah. And a lot of some, I really enjoy when we do see athletes. We have a player now who, you know, utilizes his sport and he says anything that he, you know, the sport is his job, but anything that he gets as a result of that, he doesn't feel that he necessarily earned that because he's not playing for it. So he donates all of that money to his foundation. So that would be endorsements, that would be speaking engagements, just anything that's outside of his sport, because he just feels the sport has put him in, you know, on a platform to, you know, make money in other areas, but it's not necessarily earned. I mean, people would argue that, but that's just the way he thinks, and kudos to him.
I think huge kudos to him, and I'm just curious. I'm sorry if I'm asking.
And I will tell you, that's Carson Wentz.
I told you, I'm a huge fan. Like I am a huge fan.
But even just on a
like
practical level, you know,
Yes.
when you're talking about an athlete who's making that kind of money, and so many of them end up, as we know, bankrupt and in real trouble, and you know, that's a very practical way to ensure that when your career comes to an end, you still have something left.
Right.
It's just
a legacy.
A legacy,
may not be money, but it's
just in terms
it's
of very
okay.
practical money management. That's so easy. Like take
and
what
not only that, you have brands now that are looking at what it is that you're doing, and you were talking about how it does, you know, enhance your brand. So now brands out there know what he does and how he does it, and why not align yourself with someone
Well,
like
that's what
that?
I was just going to ask you.
You know?
Now, I was going to be very crass about it.
Okay.
Because, no, I mean, my background is marketing and business strategy consulting.
Yes.
Quite frankly. I mean, sports is my passion, but that's, you know. Yeah. And if I were I am a strategist. So as a strategist, I might come in and knowing that and wanting it to be with all the altruism in the world, but understanding what business is. If I'm walking into a brand like Nike, as an example, a crass example, and I've got an athlete who's saying, look, this is how I roll. I take every endorsement dollar and I put it into this.
Sure.
As a brand, I'm going, heck, I want to be with that guy because that is a good story for me.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And we're getting into, you know, the next generation. They are holding our, you know, corporations and our brands to, you know, feet to the fire. It's, what are you doing in the community? You know, it's you better turn into, you know, Paul Newman
Sure.
and
Exactly.
start, I'm going to say, and give away 100% of your profit. But you need to be community conscious, you know, because you're taking from the community. And so I think it's always critical that you give back to the community. And I think brands, to me, if I were, you know, a company, I would certainly want to align myself with, you know, a celebrity or a high, you know, an influencer that is doing good in the community.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think given the landscape in the world right now, let's say in general, not just in sports, but everywhere, you know, corporations their feet are all being held to the fire about their integrity and who they are and what they do and what they support and what they represent. And I think now is an amazing time for any athlete that wants to give a lot of money and do it in a way that is so positive and to attract the right brands. And I mean, it seems like now is the absolute time to do it. I mean, for so many reasons.
Right. Yeah, and just think about it, because you had spoke about it earlier and said, you know, you're a player, you're an athlete, celebrity, and you're making, you know, your millions of dollars.
Sure.
I mean, how many more millions do you need?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it may not benefit you to get an additional $100,000 from, you know, the soda company.
Right.
So why not give it to charity and get the tax write-off for it?
Absolutely.
And, you know, and you can just continue on with, you know, building your, not only your brand, but building your foundation and sustaining it. And that's the biggest thing is with, you know, not just our clients, but just with foundations across the board is the sustainability.
Right.
And I think a lot of people that create the foundations, they don't necessarily understand that's the most critical part.
Right.
Of a nonprofit foundation
Sure.
is how are you going to fund it every year?
Yeah.
Whether that's you funding it or that's
raising money,
you know, and those sorts of things. So how are you doing that?
Yeah.
So that's where we come in. You know, we do help with that.
So we have a few minutes left. It always goes by so fast.
know.
It drives
You're
me crazy.
kidding.
No,
No
can you
way.
believe I have
Less than 5
so
minutes.
much
Oh
more
my
to talk about?
gosh.
I do want to ask this question
Yes.
because I really am fascinated by your business model, and I wonder, you know, I know who your client is and the target client that you have, but there are a lot of companies. We were talking about this on the way over, where you know, we want to start a foundation, but we're not somebody who's, you know, we're not yet the player that's making $10 million, $20 million a year. Do you engage with smaller
Absolutely.
groups that want to use the way that you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Our fees are our fees. I mean,
Right.
you could,
So
you know,
we could pay them, you
yeah,
pay them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but you also have to be able to fund the foundation or whatever you're setting up as well.
You do. But I mean, so do the athletes.
Right.
And so do the high network individuals that come to us
Right.
as well. I mean, very rarely are you finding somebody that is funding 100% of their foundation.
Sure.
Right.
But no, we definitely, we have lots of very, you know, unique projects. So we really take in our clients based on project and whether or not it's fundable. You know, because you don't want to bring in somebody you say, you know what, it's 10,000 of those out there already.
Yeah.
And we will tell you, you know, or show you how to partner, or,
Right.
you know, recommend that you do that. But yeah, we take all kinds. It's not just the athletes and the high network individuals. If you have a good idea and it's fundable and it's something that, you know, that falls within, you know, what our mission and our goals of the overall overarching organization, then we'd certainly take you in. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure our viewers understood that if they are interested in creating a foundation, because I
Yes.
think many people are, and they just don't know what to do.
Right.
You know, there are hopefully your company, but if it doesn't fit into your, you know, structure or how
Right.
you know what you align with, that there are others out there that you don't have to be a sports star or
Not at
an
all.
entertainer in order to give back.
Right. Not at all. You could be one who wants to, you know, give to, you know, sports organizations. You want to support youth sports. I mean, it doesn't, it could be a whole gamut of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, rich person walking through the door. Not that at all.
No, I think it's important. You know, I know, again, this is something critical and foundational to who we are. You know,
Yes.
sharing is not just, you know, a byproduct of, oh, I should do something nice. Like in our ethos, sharing
Yes.
gives you back 1,000 times more than you give.
Yes.
So if you can be consistently doing that, then you're getting more and you're giving more and you're getting more and you're giving more.
Right.
a lot of people don't understand, and it's hard for people because they don't know where to go or how to do it, or if they have a desire. So I just wanted to, tell our viewers out there that there are organizations like you that are there to support them if they're interested.
Yes, for sure. And there, Mark Pollock, our CEO, would definitely say this, that giving back creates endorphins that make you happy.
Yes.
So you should always give back and give back as much as you can.
We all want to be happy.
I'm always happy.
And even though we forgot to bring the champagne to celebrate the holiday this today, we're...
Yes.
Well, I just want to ask if you have any last questions for Charisse.
We've been discussing doing a show on sports and philanthropy for so long, and I think that the sports and philanthropy intersection is such a huge umbrella. But one of the things that I love, you've reinforced this time and again, today, is that just by the simple act of establishing a foundation, you're helping someone really set themselves up for a transition out. Successful, whatever it is, whatever career they've had, whether it's sports or something else. But there's so many more benefits to having a foundation. It's not just doing something good and helping someone out, but you can set yourself up to really have a career. That is, if you're doing it right, is pretty sustainable.
Right.
So I think that's a great reminder.
And life's
for all
about
of us.
helping each other, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we're all here for.
And being productive and finding new ways to consistently stay productive.
Yes.
In life. So,
yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Any final tips? Any final words before we sign
well,
off?
I know I do have to say hello to Clark Simon and John
Clark.
Berry, who's
Hi,
my
John.
two guys that work with me at the Giving Back Fund, and they're amazing. So I do want to say hi to them. But thank you so much for the opportunity. And there's so much more to talk about. So I hope you guys do
in the
have
new
us
year,
back.
Oh,
we've got to
no.
have you back.
No, and next time there will be a table here full of whatever is your favorite cocktail to celebrate the new year.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
again for taking the time.
Absolutely.
And Eira, Tony, we want to wish everybody an amazing, safe holiday and a happy new year. It's been a real pleasure for us to find ourselves in this position where every couple of weeks we get a chance to talk to you. We hope to increase that.
And on that note, we'll be back on Tuesday, January 9th. That will be our next show.
And we look forward to seeing you there. Sorry I was rambling. I was getting a little teary-eyed. Everybody, have a happy holiday.
Happy holidays, everyone.
See you
Thank you.
soon.
Thank you.